Welcome to Forum for a Better Understanding in its 165th weekly edition. We are so privileged today to have a conversation with an Islamic scholar and international speaker. Though we've had many programs with local Islamic leaders from the three different main centers here in town, from the Islamic Cultural Center on Nice, from the Masjid Fresno, and also from the Masjid Al-Aqaba, but today, coming to us very recently from India, we have a scholar, Yusuf Estes. Sheikh Estes is a convert to Islam. From what I hear, at age 47, he had a tremendous awakening of his faith, being that he was a Christian preacher and musician and owner of a music empire. Somehow, he's going to explain how, God spoke to him in a special way and he became Islamic. The conversation this week will begin today, and we'll be with you at the same time next week with part 2 of this conversation, which I've entitled, The Truth of Islam. I was at the Masjid Fresno the night before we had this taping to meet the Sheikh and to see a whole mosque of people, young, old, and in between, men and women, sharing an interest in what he was sharing with them. He has, I think, hundreds of websites, and we're going to be talking about some of the main ones later. But I think we should let Sheikh Yusuf Estes introduce himself a little bit more and why it is that he's in Fresno and why it is we're having our program today. Thank you, Sheikh, for being here with us.
Jim, it's a pleasure to be with you, and it's a real big honor and for me to have a chance to be here with you guys, and also for the folks there at home. Wanted to mention that you probably gave the closest to the reality of an introduction that I've heard about in a long time.
Nice.
Because as you become more and more known around the world, people have a tendency to get further and further away from the real deal. I've heard myself introduced to the extent that when I'm sitting backstage listening to this introduction going on, and I'm thinking, who is coming out? And they say, here he is, Yusuf Estes. I go, that wasn't me. But you said you got the age right, you got the background right, everything. The only thing I will take exception to the empire.
Oh, yes.
I want to play that down a little bit.
We will play. He's not an emperor. But the idea that you are very, very available.
I was called a benign dictator once.
But at least benign.
Benign.
Now, where we want to go in our conversation today and next week is for you to give a primer to, I think our viewing audience is mainly non-Muslim. So why don't we begin with this topic of Islam in life and society, and let me throw out some words to you,
okay,
and let you either do a etymology of it, a bit of an anecdotal comment, a bit of a reflection, whatever you'd like to open up the concept. Allah, the main thing we need to learn from the Islamic community. Tell us about Allah.
Can I ask you a question? I like to play both ways. Okay?
Oh, thank you.
You know, we have our show too, so because I don't have a chance to get you to Texas to do our show, so we'll flip it back and forth. Fair?
Fair enough.
Cool. Now, may I ask you a question? Do you know any Arabic?
Very, very little.
Okay.
A few words, 5 words.
Okay. So, what the word ilah from Arabic, ilah, is the equivalent of the English word God. Ilah, or El in Hebrew, El.
Yep.
You're familiar with that?
El.
Okay,
God.
so, yeah, that's God. So, if we have a word, ilah, and it means God, now I'm going to ask you, we have a word Allah, what do you have to equal it? And you can look through the bag of tricks and you're never going to find it.
I went to a lecture and I heard from the presenter that there is no word. The problem is in English. We have no word in English.
Who said that?
That would be Sheikh Yusuf Estes. I heard him in a talk last night, actually.
Where'd you guys get this guy?
So the big problem is in English. We don't have the word.
For Jews and Christians and Muslims, all of us are suffering from a deficiency in the English language because it does not appropriately present what was said in the manuscripts. If you go back to the Hebrew and try to bring it to English, you've always got a problem. If you go back to Aramaic, you've got a problem. If you go back even to Koine Greek, you've got problems because these languages are rich. And they bear fruit when you speak, and the poetry is so excellent. And when you bring it to English, to a word that was actually, it was Hud. That was what it was. That's how they pronounced it. And that just had to do for everything. So it's something worshipped. A deity, which could be a rock, a stick, a stone, a bone. That could be worked into poetry, by the way. We'll think about that. Anyway, so you got this for deity. All right. But when you say Allah, that's His name. And it's unique in that it can't be made plural, nor can it have gender. Now, this is cool because, especially for the women who say, how come the Bible is written from a man's point of view? Well, it's not really. The Bible wasn't written from a man's point of view. When God sent revelation of the Bible, what He was sending down was from Himself. But He even says He Himself about Himself because He doesn't call Himself it. No. But God's not having, male characteristics. Let's leave it at that. Nor female.
No. No.
He's way beyond that, above that. And so when we get that in our mind, then the other thing you might say, well, we find in Hebrew and we find also in Arabic, in the Quran and in the Torah, this reference to we and our and us.
That's right.
But this is the royal plural like the king or the queen uses. So it's not really God saying me and my army or me and my buddies. I'm going to have a, some kind of a director's meeting tonight with my guys, or, it's not like that. So Allah is the name of God. And it's also the name used by Jews and Christians who are Arabs.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Following on that, how would you summarize for us a Muslim's relationship with God? Sometimes we think it's very important to know in a faith, do they find God judge? Do they find God merciful? Do they find God advocate? Do they find God a defender? What is the relationship mostly that Muslims feel for their God?
Let me throw something at you and see how it sets. If somebody recognizes there is really a deity, a God, and even if they're not sure who is he and what is he and so on, but they recognize all this didn't come in. Therefore, there must be a God. There's a creator, a sustainer. Somebody's taking care of me. I have a thought, I need something, and then somehow it just pops up. Now, how can that keep happening, So there's something out there. And what should be my relation? Relation should be what? And if they determine that they want to surrender themselves over to the Lord, and they want to submit to any commandment or authority, submit to the authority of the one above, and they want to obey any injunctions that He might offer, and they want to do this sincerely and in peace. Does that sound good?
That does. It sounds like Islam.
Well, that's what the word means.
All of that in that one word.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
And this is what the relationship of an Islamic believer is: a total submission,
to Him,
total commitment, a total resignation of self to this greater, and doing it, as you say, in sincerity and sa'alam, in peace. All of that is...
The peace that we're talking about, a lot of times I hear Muslims say Islam is peace, and that's not really right. That's wrong to say that, because it doesn't mean the kind of peace like that we'd like to see, peace in the Middle East,
yeah,
peace between brothers and so. But this is a kind of peace that you have in your life, that no matter what is sent to you from Him, you're in peace. Now, there's two extremes here. Suppose somebody has all of the material things that come at them very fast, like winning the lottery or something like